Okay, we'll start in 1 minute.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it is time to start. So warm welcome to everyone watching us live today or later recorded. Before we start, a small thing to announce, and also answering a question I've seen in the chat. The recording and the slides will be available, including our contact info, like of myself and of other presenters. So in case of any questions, you'll have the direct contact. The agenda for today. We'll start with the introduction. At first, us, social links. We'll introduce ourselves quickly, as well as other presenters. Then we'll move on to our most interesting and desired part, the cases. You'll learn how you can apply those cases in your investigations. But before the cases, there will be a small introduction to our new methods we use in those new cases. And yeah, this time we'll have a Q&A session after every case. So this way you'll be able to ask our expert about some details of the case. And then at the end of the webinar, there's going to be a big Q&A session where you can ask everything you want. We'll answer as much as possible, but yeah, at any other time we won't jump into the chat to check the questions. So let's start. At first, a small introduction. Maltego, it's where it all started. Maltego is a visualization tool. It is used worldwide, and it is very popular among OSINT experts, open source intelligence experts. And visualization there is great and really helpful, but it makes no sense without us, social links. So at Social Links, we have different products, but today we're going to talk about Maltego plugin. Yeah, it is a data mining tool, and we've been helping our clients for more than 6 years. We collect data from open source, social media, and darknet. And it's important to know that it is all legal because, as I said, we collect it from like open source, the internet, the way that every user can do, but we do it much quicker. Like if you can spend like weeks getting all together, we can visualize it, help you visualize it in less than 1 hour. So yeah, we have more than 50 sources like Facebook, Twitter, and so on, like darknet, and we're used worldwide. Be it a drug dealer's post on darknet or your employees post on Facebook, will make it possible for you to find and analyze this data with the help of our face recognition technologies, search by geolocation functionality, and so on. So yeah, where can we help you? Of course, in law enforcement and government organizations. Also, we can help HR departments to check people they're hiring, as well as cybersecurity agencies, banks, journalists, users as well. If you would want to try us out, just drop us a letter. Email is in the bottom right corner. And yeah, we are constantly developing new methods. And for one of new features, we teamed up with wonderful WhoisXML API team. And yeah, so now you can visualize all the data provided by this service. Yeah, and so you'll be able to use domains and IP addresses in your investigations. And so now I introduce you Alex, the Senior Director of Business Development in WhoisXML team, to tell you a bit more about like his team.
Thank you, Sonia. Yeah, that's me, Alex Ronquillo here, Senior Director, WhoisXML API. So on behalf of my entire team, I can speak for all of us saying that we're really excited to join forces with Social Links as well as Jörn Weber's team here. So if you're hearing me, you're already an existing client. You have some really new, really interesting capabilities in your tool set today. Really excited for what's in store for you. For those of you who don't know who we are, great. I'll share a short briefing here next couple of minutes. So it's no secret that the internet is a wildly dangerous place. But if the world's most critical researchers are not able to back their theories with reliable data, we start failing to extract the truths behind what's happening on the internet and who is accountable for that. Unfortunately, the internet is super complicated now. The answers we're looking for scattered, billions of rows of data, a lot of noise, and that data comes from a lot of different places. There's almost 1,000 domain name registrars. It's not just GoDaddy, Namecheap out there. There's a lot of other ones. There's hundreds of thousands of website hosting companies, internet service providers. In some cases, it's actually resellers of resellers of resellers operating on razor thin profit margins, little to no accountability. So here's the problem we have. Number one, there's no reliable international uniform data formats or data sharing requirements. So the data's coming in very ugly, very noisy, very slow. Another problem is thanks to some of our friends pushing for privacy, as well as a lot of other international efforts, critical historical footprints in many cases around who's accountable have been washed away. This makes it kind of unrealistic for security investigators, cybersecurity companies to go and then negotiate the right agreements with, again, hundreds of thousands of ISPs, 1,000 registrars, all of these different authoritative sources. But that does not have to be the reality anymore. To share how we solve this exactly, Sonia, I'll need your help getting to the next slide.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. So, long list here, right? We've developed a lot of success stories over the past 10 years by powering the world's smartest cybersecurity companies. These are people like IBM's, Proofpoint, Cisco's of the world, like 50,000 others. So what we do is that we integrate this kind of hard to find and harder to clean data directly into your favorite cybersecurity platforms, either out of the box API integration, which Sonia's team has some really exciting things to show you around that note. In some cases, we're actually providing the parse data feed bulk download dumps. So those can be taken offline, massaged thoroughly, so that way people can kind of innovate with machine learning, AI, that kind of thing. So again, this slide has a long list of APIs, data feeds, but here's really the main takeaway. If it involves a URL, an IP address, a domain, or a domain's infrastructure, name servers, SSL, all of that, we've probably already figured out how to crawl it, clean it up, and export it directly into like a more ingestible format. So you guys don't have to hack together a million tools from a bunch of different places. So today we'll be talking more specifically about a lot of our API endpoints, which will be used to do some deep dives into current historical records, which Jörn has made some very cool use of. Sonia, if you can help me with another slide click, I'll tie this off here.
Yeah.
Thank you. When the world's smartest security engineers need to build the world's smartest platforms, they have a lot of the same problems. They got to enrich a lot of DNS traffic. There's not really reasonable options on the market. They need to find out what websites are out there, which ones are suspicious, and who's accountable for putting it up and taking it down. And a lot of times they have to dig through historical records just to figure out what happened. When we hear that, that's really our bat signal. We're here to help you guys build better platforms. We're here to help you take down the actors responsible for illegal activity. Really, we're here to help you get to the truth. So if you're hearing me now and these are problems that are worth a new approach, my team here at WhoisXML API Sonia's team with social links, and Jörn Weber are here at your service. But I'll pass the floor back to Sonia now. Get us started. Thanks, Sonia.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. Thank you very much. So let's, guys, let's move on to our most interesting part. The one that you obviously desire most is the cases that you'll make use of. But at first, yeah, like about 10 minutes we'll spend to let you know all the methods that we've implemented. Jörn, you can start sharing now.
Okay, somehow I muted myself. So I think you can see the first slide here, so that should work. Yeah, so short introduction to myself. My name is Jörn Weber. I'm the Managing Director for Korma GmbH. We are an investigation agency based in Germany, and we work for a number of great clients for a number of years also. So I'm in business in this area for 20 years and another 20 years with the German police. So you have an idea that I'm not 25. Also, I always think I am, but it's not true. It's fake. And over the course of the years, I went into more and more into internet investigations, cybercrime things. So I'm not a pen tester, but I like pen testers and their tools. I'm always curious how they do things. And then I discovered API data, and I'm still working on that. And I think, okay, this is really interesting. I used data from WhoisXML for Pentaho integration. So with Kettle, with this open source thing, and it was really, really cool. I worked on a couple of thousand domains and all the stuff. And I always ask Andre and say, hey, Andre, can you please make sure that we find a solution to get this data into Maltego? Because my message today for you is very simple. I just want to convince you that you use this API data and this request that you can do by the transforms within your daily cases. Because the GDPR, I mean, it's a couple of years ago when everybody was whining and mourning and saying, oh, now we cannot investigate any longer, and so on and so on. And we had similar stories in Germany. It was a bad thing with GPS tracker. They were not allowed, or they are not allowed for surveillance work. And all the investigators said, oh, we cannot do surveillance any longer. And it's not true. I mean, just do a normal surveillance and follow this car and don't look at your iPad and do this kind of things. And the same is with the GDPR data. You have to find out other ways and maybe also other sources. It's true for everything which is new in a newly connected with Whois. This is a problem, but there's tons of information in the past of people. And people like me who leave or left a lot of traces. That's a topic for today, where you can find out how that works. And I will give you an overview about the entities that are part of this new transforms. And I will also show you the transforms for that. And then we go into some cases. So it's a mix of education and entertainment. So connected to WhoisXML API transforms here, the new ones, are a number of entities. Of course, the domain, IP4 address, email address, IPv6 address, the phrase AS, company, name server, mail server, and a new one. And all the others are standard transforms. You can find them relatively easy. The reverse, Whois, is a separate new entity that you need to pull from the entity sidebar into the graph. I will show you how that works. And then you have a lot of possibilities that you can do. For the company that is connected here, this is the company entity made by social links. It's connected to a number of interesting transforms. I will also show you that. So it's not only focusing on the Whois data, I'm trying to show you how you can connect things with this data. And here is an overview of the transforms that we can see. So for domain, IP, email, there's a lot, and then we have some, let's say, single ones. I guess in total we have 14 new transforms. One note: if you go to WhoisXML API, you need to sign up there to get the API key. There are a number of free API keys, or let's say free queries that you can do with your API key. You need to figure out what you want. You have seen the list, it's huge. Don't get confused. You need to pick the ones that you want. And, well, I'm not paid by Alex, I'm not paid, but what I have to tell you is what I really like, and that for a number of years, is the ability to prepay credits here. So you don't have a monthly, you can do monthly stuff, you can yearly, you can buy as much as you want, but for, let's say, boutique, small investigators like me, I like it when I spend a couple of $100 or whatever I have or need, and then I can use them whenever I want. And that also works with the API. So actually what you see today is always from my API account that I have, and I have a couple of thousand credits there, which was not too many $1 to get them. And so I think it's really fair, because not everybody can afford this huge amount of money that people or companies sometimes are requesting for this kind of data. So as I said, I think it's a very fair approach, especially for the smaller teams. Yeah, so let's go into the details. 14 new transforms. So the first one is IP geolocation. Actually, it pulls a number of things from an IP address, for example. So which domain name is connected. So it's not only the IP address. So it's connected with the domain name. It is the AS and the geo coordinates. And of course, it depends on the data that you get and the IP address that you are requesting. If you get other things like connection type, mobile, broadband, and so on. I mean, I'm the investigator here, so I didn't look into some of the things that maybe cyber security guys would look into. I mean, everybody has maybe the same challenge, but different perspective. So for me, it's good to see this possibility here. I think it's kind of straightforward. IP Netblocks is also not the standard approach here. It looks like a little bit, because there are other transforms who can do maybe similar things, even built in. But in this case, you can see it on the right side, maybe not too sharp, but that's the thing where you have to watch for all these transforms in the detail view and property view. You see that also the Whois data for the Netblocks are already inside there. So there's always more on information if you pull this data. What I can show you live then is that you can use the convert transform that converts this information into entities again. So maybe for your Netblock that is on your radar here, you may have some interesting stuff, so you don't have to copy and paste. You can simply convert the entities. So I think it's a very nice feature. Well, this is one of my favorites, and could talk for hours on that and on cases that I'm not authorized to release. But I can tell you, in the past and also in current things, I found a lot of interesting details in Whois history. And that's a thing that if we look back in time, if we find smart ways of looking for ownership information, and you see here for the screenshots I have stolen from the API website from Alex's team. So it is a lot of information there. I don't know how much it is from whatever in real world is there, but I think it's a huge amount. It's a huge coverage. Because it's there, I think it's a good opportunity to build that into your into your case. And as a little example, what you get, for example, when you ask a domain, so you see, you get all those DNS entities here. And on the first view, you think, okay, well, how can I figure that out? But actually, it's really easy. I love the website with the domain history requests that I can place. The everything which is built on the website is really nice and works fine. But this, I think, is even easier to use because you can pull the request here. I show you and I go into the live thing. Right mouse click, start the transform, and you get this thing running. And it's already sorted. So in the lower left corner, you have the oldest information, and then it goes in like in German, it's zigzag, I don't know, zigzag, yeah, up to the upper left corner, and that's then the youngest one. So you don't have to look, you see in the link, there is the information, but you don't have to check that. You simply go either by mouse over or by clicking on the entity, and then you see on the right side this information. So it's up to you to make these windows here in the sidebar in a way that it works for you and that you have enough space and can read it. So there are two areas, the detail view and the property view. I show that again live. If you click on it, it's constantly there and you can read and see, oh, there's something new. There's an address in, well, the correct spelling would be Frankfurt, I guess. So, and there's a zip code and so on, and there's a name. So tons of information from the past. So this is from 2012, I guess, was the update date here, yeah? And this is 2012, I guess, yeah. So anyway, so this is how it works. And it's really one click away only. And that's what I like. If you are in the middle of your case and you think, okay, what can I do? What is on my list? I mean, Whois history is a must-have in all of my checklist for persons and for companies and for other things. And Whois history, when I have the domain, and reverse Whois, we come to that in a second. Of course, if I need to know if there is a domain. These are the two most important things for me. What else do we have? So we have a reverse IP DNS API call. So from the IP address, we can do a reverse lookup and see who is sharing this domain, and then we can do other things. I think it's pretty current, the coverage. So this is not, if I'm not wrong here, I don't think this is a historical view. So it's like a passive DNS kind of thing. So this is more current information. At least that was my impression. And so you need to know if you do the things with the Maltego transforms or the Patervas citas, if you work with, I don't know, maybe security trails or even with these ones, the critical thing is always to know, is this dealing with the current, let's say, fresh DNS data, or is this information also including passive DNS data? So for example, if you run one of the machines within Maltego, you sometimes don't see that immediately. You see, oh, wow, there's a lot of domains. And then you check them one by one, or other things like DNS names, and you check them and they're all offline. They are not registered any longer, not connected to the internet. So that's why you should do it in a step-by-step approach to make sure you understand, okay, this is now checking the live DNS, the live system, and other things like where it's in the name, far side, passive DNS database. Of course, they go back in time as well. So that's what you have to look for. The same, what I just said, is for this reverse MX, so mail server and name server. I also think this is a great opportunity for identifying networks, how things belong together. So this is about my crypto lady that we talk about in a few minutes, and one of the domains. And the mail server is connected to a lot of other domains. For example, their Deal Shaker, that was where they had their dirty deals for their sales system, so their Ponzi scheme, and some other stuff. And you can easily draw a connection via this data. And again, this has to be fresh. So if for one reason the things are offline, then it does not work for, let's say, historical information. Brand alert. Well, this sounds for a moment like, okay, I'm an investigator or I'm a OSINT analyst, whatever your role is, and I'm not a brand protection person or whatever. But I think this has also some opportunity that from time to time, in your case, it makes sense to do that. So actually, it goes through recently registered and deleted domains and checks if these domains contain the terms that you specified. And that's why you need the phrase here from Maltego to enter. And I just tried it with the OneCoin thing here, the so-called Bitcoin killer. And so OneCoin, they are still a millionaire with onecoin.com. I don't think that will really work. It worked for some people, actually, but we talk about that later. So here you get this information. So I think it's also worth a try to get an overview. Okay, is there anything else with this specific keyword that I'm looking for? Are there any registered domains? Another nice thing is the domain availability. So that's maybe something you don't need so often. So I just invented a domain and I said, okay, it's available. But sometimes you have so many domains, you may want to sort that by this kind of things. And then just make sure that you see, okay, because if they are available, you don't need to go into the current systems because they are not connected to any internet, to any server or name server. So it always depends on your case, how often you need that. Now with this transform, it's there for you and available. Another thing, I just tried it this morning, to be honest. I said, oh, I did not really see that. And I think it's really great. So email verification, and it's, let's say, not only about, is this a true email, postbox, and so on. It does some stuff more. And I use one of my domains I'm using for anything. So everything where I have to register, I use maybe this domain, and the alias doesn't matter. So it's a catch-all, and everything comes to me, and I can register, and it's a private email, private Whois thing, and everything is cool. And now I found out that if you have the right tool in place, you immediately can spot that this is a catch-all address, and just Jon Snow is not the man from the wall in Game of Thrones. He is probably fake, or at least he is not using, let's say, a proper email address. So you can collect some information here very easily, and you see that then when you do these things, you see it again in the property view. So you get the mailbox, I mean the MX records here, and you see also that this is now a domain. For some reason, I don't tell you which one, but it's connected. So it seems that this person connected to mailbox.org, which is a free mail, well, not free mail, it's a paid mail provider. And then connected with the information that there's a catch-all address, you could have some doubts about this Jon Snow or this email at all. At least also you can tell your customer a story, even if you cannot solve the case maybe, but if you tell them the story and explain the things, then you are already on the winning street here. So I found it's a very interesting transform that works, of course, with email. Okay, and then really after the Whois history, so depending on what information I have, it's about the reverse Whois. I really like that, and it's for a number of information that you can run your query on. So of course, it you can do it for the domain owner, yeah. So Jon Snow, for example, or his email address or a phone number. For the phone number, you have maybe to try out how the data is stored. This is always a huge problem. So is it for Germany, we have +49. So is it stored with +49 without the plus? So in my data that I saw, it's the country code, but nothing in front of it. So no 00 or plus. So as soon as you know that, you can start formatting your phone number and then check it out, postal address or part of it. And then you get a graph with all the information, how it is connected. And then you have the domains, for example, as a result. And then you can dig deeper and see, okay, is it really my person or somebody else? So how strong is the link? That, of course, depends. And the reverse Whois has really a huge number of fields. I know that Sonia spent really some time on programming this thing, and we were in kind of close exchange about that. And I helped her to select some of the fields because not all of the available Whois fields are really necessary. But here you can really do a drill down into that topic. Here's an example from one of my favorite demo cases from the cyberbunker guys. So we, depending on the time, I can show you also live, but I mean here, this is the entity, the reverse Whois entity, and I just entered the name of this Dutch sir who is now in a German jail, prison at the moment, because the bulletproof hosting was not so bulletproof, but they rented this NATO bunker in Germany and were only hosting, I mean, there were not a single legal website that they hosted. Finally, the police raided this thing. You can look that up if you look for cyberbunker or cyberbunker 2.0. They tried the same thing in the Netherlands. And so I searched for this person's name because there's not too much on this guy. And then I get a number of domains. And then from one of these domains, I checked it with the Whois. No, this is the website contact. I come to that in a second, I guess. Website contacts. And I see, okay, it's Calibre software. It's in Germany. So, and also I came to this Calibre GmbH. From there, I do the open corporates transform via social links. And then I have his name, Hermann Johann Xent, which is the correct name. And because he's the managing director of this company in Berlin that he founded. And that's how you can do that, even in this case without the reverse Whois. Here I did a reverse Whois and get a lot of information about this domain that was also used for a lot of spam. So you can find tons of information if you check this case. So reverse Whois works with a part of the name. In this case, it was a bit tricky. So I tried it 2 or 3 times because I had the full name. And it really depends how they are in the registration data. And he was with HJ Xent in the registration data. So when I use Hermann Johann, I don't find him, but his last name is kind of not so super big like Miller or Weber. Yeah, so I tried it, and then I had only like 6 domains, and then you can do for each of them the Whois history search and go deeper and find out what it is. Yeah, website contacts. I was surprised. Yeah, it's really interesting data from a lot of active domains. It really depends on how you need that for your case. You don't have to go to the website. You can do it from here, so nobody knows you are looking on these things. And you have quickly some first information that you can directly continue for your work. So here you have an email address from my team. Here you have our company name. And from here you can, of course, go to open source data. My LinkedIn profile is there. There was a Facebook address. I deleted that because we don't have that any longer. But maybe I provide that. So I have to check my website, what I'm telling the people there. So that's also something that is really useful. And the last thing is screenshots. That works if the website gives access to this tool and to this crawler. So for my website, it worked. For the OneLive website, there was a Cloudflare was a little bit concerned about that. Okay, so these are the 14 transforms. And now I was saying, okay, what kind of case can I show you? And this is one I did not work on, but I really like it. I mean, I would have, the damage here is 3.3 billion euros, large. I think it's the largest cryptocurrency fraud that at least I'm aware of. And let me introduce Dr. Ruja Ignatova. Dr. Ruja is a lawyer, finally. She made a master in Harvard, I guess. Very, very smart lady. And in Wikipedia, they say she's a convicted Bulgarian fraudster. I think that's probably coming to the point. So she invented, together with a guy from Sweden who is in prison in the US, they developed like a Ponzi scheme about OneCoin. I think they started in 2014, 2015, developing this thing. And until 2017, it was a fantastic show. She was in the Wembley Arena with firework and on stage. All the stuff is on YouTube. You find a podcast from BBC, fantastic story. And her brother is arrested by the US authorities, or was arrested, and is now talking like hell. Yeah, he's probably trying to avoid the 90 years and going down to 45 or something. And in end of 2017, so it's not too long ago, she packed her things and was flying with Ryanair, not with a private jet, to Athens. And there, 2 Russian guys met her, and since then she disappeared. Later, her brother was arrested. She is, nobody knows where she is. She disappeared from the scene, and probably a couple of million, maybe Bitcoins and not OneCoins, disappeared as well. So here we are now in the live view. So this is some of the stuff that I already showed you from the domain transform that I did. I think we can directly start with the crypto queen case, and let me just open the thing here. So what I would do, and I can make this a little bit bigger here. So I have this person and I have the name, and I would simply search for her in the reverse Whois. I want to know, are there any things related to her? I don't have an email, I just have the name. Oh yeah, she's a crypto queen, and I want to know what it is. So you go, if you want to find it, you go into this entity palette here. You enter reverse or start it, and from here you can pull this entity into the graph. And let's use the one I already have. So you can fill it out, and here are 31 properties. I pre-filled it already with the information that I want to execute in a second, but just for you, here is a mouse over information. You should be a little bit slow with your mouse and then look at this. So the nice thing is also you have a preview. So you don't need to purchase the 500 records and your API is empty within a second or something. So you can do a preview and you get the numbers, which is like something like 10 hits or 15 hits or 0. And if it's 0, then you can maybe refine the query. Then the basic search, you can include here the domain name, for example. That is also a way to search for things. But of course, you can include the name. You can include any other keyword, email address, and other things. So that's a kind of basic search. And then you have to tell this basic search if it should go to current, historic, or recently updated. So you have to enter that. So by default, it's set on purchase and current, and you simply have to enter then type in historic. If you know that you can exclude things, of course, then you can do it here. And you can do that with the, can separate the things with the backpipe. So in, you have to find out in your keyboard, whatever system you're using, where the thing is. And then you have a lot of possibilities if we are talking about the more advanced stuff. Yeah. So you can say from to, created, updated, you see the stuff. And what I can recommend to you is when we talk about phone numbers, phone number, here it is, yeah, that you enter the phone number things here and not maybe in the basic. So I had more success when I entered them here. That worked really very well for me. Email worked there. So sometimes you have maybe to try and find out if it's better or not. So typically the basic search goes through all those fields, but you never know. I mean, we are dealing with IT systems, so I would recommend for some things to use the separate fields here. So this is everything that Sonia coded into this entity so that you have the ability to select really precisely what you want. So what I want is I want her domains with a historic view. So everything is entered, right mouse click, and then we have this reverse Whois. So if you, oops, I have a set. I'm not sure if that is delivered with a set, but anyway, you can also create your own set, of course. So, and within the set, there's only one now available for this transform because that's a very specific entity. So we let this thing run. And then you can also already zoom out a little bit. And then we get a list of domains. And we see the hit nine hits here. And we have some with a name inside. And then, oh, there's a crypto thing. And now, typically in the case, I think you probably would have to look into all of them and check them one by one. Well, why they are interesting, and if that is the same Dr. Ruja that you are looking for who registered this domain. I just take one. What I do is that I not always work in one graph here. So I put the things with the action bar to a new graph and start the thing from here. Yeah, so here we have the domain now, another right mouse click, and then you have to find out with all the transforms. I'm sorry, I'm using my live system here. So we have to find out where are the things. Okay, WhoisXML. You can also do it by searching, and you see for the domain, there are multiple things you could check. And we are now looking for the Whois history in this moment here. Okay, and here are the results. And then it makes sense to move this thing to the right side of your screen. And as I said earlier, you have now the information on the left side. This is the one from 2014, creation date. Yeah, and 2 areas where the data actually is stored. So this is a detail view, more like a text file. It is not bad to get something out of here, but I personally really like that everything is very nicely, and maybe can make all the things a little bit bigger here. Yeah, so you can see better. So now you have all the things in a field here and the dynamic properties, everything which is important for you. And you can easily either click here and copy it, or if it's more text that you want to move, you click on these 3 dots here, and then you can copy it from here and say, okay, oh, that's an email from whatever domain that is. And for example, you throw that in here with paste that in, I mean. What I then would do, I would connect them and say, okay, here is this data coming from. There is some more information. It's her address in Bulgaria. There's a phone number and all those things. And what you also have to do is you have to check the other entries. So there may be different information there. So we have to make sure that we see the things here. So you see now the email address disappeared. Also, it's still her domain. Yeah. And here it's again back. Yeah, and now it's privacy protected, probably for the rest of the settings here. Yeah, I mean, if it's once, except they change or there's an error, which I also saw. So you definitely have to click on all of them. Yeah. And so now we have a new domain. So, okay, interesting. I have an email from this lady. I have the domain in this email. So there's a nice transform. You say to domain DNS, just search it. You get the domain. And now we are happy because we talk about who is data. So of course, what we want to do, we want to see what can we do with the with our new Whois. Can make it shorter by simply searching for XML. Here we can also check, for example, the website contacts. And we see, okay, it's a company maybe based in the UK, and that triggers for me, okay, interesting, right mouse click on this company, and then I go to either open corporates, or when I know it's a UK company, I look for a company's house, search companies. And then we see, I think this is from open corporates. And it's better to do the company's house search with quotes. So, but anyway, maybe it's too many capital limited. Yeah. Anyway, we take the open corporates data, and then from there we check for to officer, and we may see some names that trigger something for us or something we can investigate further. So just from the domain, we go very deeply into people's name. They have an active, inactive director status. So we can do these things. But of course, we are not at the end. So that was just the view on the contact data. So what else we can do is we do the Whois data, Whois history. Because the question is, why is she connected to this capital limited thing in London? And so who is maybe behind that? And we start again with the oldest data. And then we see a person from Germany and an address somewhere in southern Germany, not too much south. And okay, this is the hoster there. And so, okay, let's do the other one. Yeah, still the same data, nothing new here really. And then all of a sudden, and that is the example for you, now number 4 is giving me an email address. Yeah, so here I will put it from the other. So all of a sudden we have an email address. I say, oh, interesting. So I get this email address, bring it to here, and make sure that I know later on where it comes from. I connect it and can check that later on. Yeah. So for this information, I can also convert this to entities, this entry. Yeah, very nice. And then you have this person here. I say, okay, who is this? Yeah. Then I would probably go to people, yeah, and search for this thing, for this name here. And then you have to find out, okay, which person is maybe the right one. Here is one with an image. So it says, okay, there's a lot of information already there. And there's a phone number, sorry. There's a phone number from Frankfurt, so I have to have to be a little bit speed up here. But anyway, what you can do then, here you can again go to the details. Oops, where is this? Social links, people, two-person entities. That was entities, not details. And then you see his Facebook account. And from the Facebook account, you go to the Facebook entities or the real account. And then you probably have maybe, or you probably have more information. And then you can look, work at Linklaters LLP. That's I think, a very good law firm. At the end of the story, this person is, of course, not a fraudster. He's a lawyer, and his data are connected to this lady because I think they were married based on my investigation. They are divorced. So at that time, she used his email address and his information. And to give you an overview how that can look like if you, give me 1 second. If you put the full case on one graph, yeah, you have full screen. You have the same image here. Yeah, so we do the search by emails, who is connected. So we see with this email, we come to this domain, and this domain then brings us another new Yahoo address from this lady. There are plenty of phone numbers inside. So this is all, and here is our research for the legal person. So you see there's tons of information. Here is the address we researched. So there's tons of information available in this Whois data. So that was case number 1. Sonja, do you want to do the question and answer on this case, or should I just hunt for another few minutes into the second case?
I haven't seen any questions so far. So guys, if you have questions, we'll give you like 1 minute to ask them, and then we'll move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions only about the case. Any other questions we'll answer later.
Yeah. Well, it's a.
Wait, the one is about the case. Timo Hössel asked, how can it be that the directors given by the tool are not correct? Only one is an active director. Joanna Hillary Ellison is resigned.
Okay, let me switch back to the. So the question was why about the status of these two directors. Yeah, the problem with where is my case here? The problem with this information here, I think we talk about this capital, is this is open corporates. I mean, this is by no means a super, hyper reliable database. It's a great database because it's free. They have a lot of data. My company is in there, and one status is inactive, and I can swear to God it's not inactive, and the other one is active because they didn't understand that we just moved the office. And so you have to make a decision how much you believe that. But I think I would always take this as a lead and not as a given information. So it depends on how they pull the data. And in this case, I would go to a company's house and check that out from there and see what it is. It's probably even here within our 400 data. It's somewhere there. Yeah, so it is more like a lead than 100% valid information. But it's a new thing.
Yeah, thank you, Jörn. Thank you very much. Then I don't see any other questions regarding the cases.
Okay.
All the others will answer later. So let's move on to the next case.
Okay, so this is also a very short one, just to give you also, it's a post thing, yeah? So I talk about Operation Bayonet. So, and here's also the question, what can we find when we talk about the dark corners of the internet? What can we find in Whois history? So Operation Bayonet was a multinational law enforcement operation where the Dutch police took over HanseNet and controlled it. And the people liked it because the quality of the service was much better when the drug dealer was serviced by police officers. Well, they did not know that. And they were later arrested. Then Alpha Bay was also put down, another huge market. And Mr. Alex C was the mastermind behind that. So I spent some time of investigating what I can find out about this person. And actually the story is he was arrested, actually there where this image from the Lamborghini is, from the Thailand police, and then he committed suicide in his prison cell a few days later. I think he made 20 million or more with this thing. There was a takedown of Alpha Bay. And so let's have a quick look of what we can find about Alpha Bay in this case here. Okay, so the question is always, what do we have on information? And I had actually a demo where I used his email address, and this email address, his Hotmail address, was used as the password reset email for Alpha Bay. I mean, it was really not a good idea, but it was used there. And so you don't find too much things. So I did the reverse Whois with Pimp Alex, with the alias, and there were no hits. And I did the same thing with the email. And that depends really on the data. I had another provider where I found weightlosbesttips.com connected to this email. But in other data, I did not find that. Oops, sorry. I did not find that. And so the other version that I then was following is I used, sorry, I have to sort it a little bit here. Okay. Yeah, so I use his name in the reverse Whois. I said, okay, let's simply use his name in the historic data and then do it from there. So I entered the data. Now let's check this out. And so this guy registered a number of domains, and to make it shorter, this one is the one that if you check it, oh, it does not open all URLs. Why not? So if you go to this website, it says something in French about Mr. Alex, and then you have like a confirmation that this is somehow linked. And then, of course, you can do the reverse Whois again to see, where is it here? XML, to see what is connected. And then you find tons of other information. And you here, if you can do the same in a collection and go through it one by one. And I think in the older data, you find an email address and other stuff. And from this case, then there are a lot of different information always connected to the Whois data in that case. And maybe a last quick view on the full scope of this case study here. Let me open it. So if you put all the data together, and pull different sources here. You can easily find more things with him, other email addresses. I did a password correlation, so not only his pimp email, there were tons of other emails that we found. Here's one from this ebxtech.com, lycos.com, and all the stuff then has to be checked if there are other domains. Here's an old account on MySpace, and it's Quebec in the shape of the map. And then I found this image when he was 17. So a lot of things, connections, and you see the Whois data are always there. I have to show you one guy, because I know we are short in time, but I really have to introduce you and to give you a tip. Don't register your username as trademark, yeah? And don't use asshole209 as a password. So this guy was one of the biggest seller on Alphabay and also before on Silk Road. And there are in people plenty of data, and it was not sure how the things go together. And to make it short, when his name or his username was Kali Connect, and by all means, he really tried to register this as a trademark. I mean, the super criminal, well, look at his face, super criminal. And he tried to do that. And if you use the email, the aliases as a phrase, and you go into the document cloud, which is another social links transform, and then you open that, and now this works what I just tried, because open all URLs, you could really see that somebody uploaded this stuff here. And here is the trademark office that decleaned the registration. Here you have his email address, his address, and so on. And from there, again, you can go back to this wonderful graph and continue. And then if you search for this guy, you see the domain, and in the domain, again, with Whois, you see that long ago he did that, but it's still there. And here we have the full address and even a Yahoo Mail account. So tons of things that you can find with these things. I now stop because we are running late because of my long stories here. And I give a hand over to Sonia for questions and other things.
Yes, Jörn, thank you so much. The last case was my favorite one. So yeah, I just loved it. Let's move on to questions. Yeah, so just a second. There was other questions. How do we get people API? Is it included or not included in social links? So yeah, I'll answer that. We included an integration with people API. So you have to use people API key, but you can visualize all the data with social links and Maltego. Also, a question from Alexandre Francois. What happens next when the data is collected? I think it's a question for Alex. Yeah, Alex, will you answer that?
Sure. So once we collect all the data in the back of the house there, there's a lot of sort of maintenance and cleaning and parsing of that data. So that way that can actually go into that kind of consistent format. So that way people like Sonia, people like Jörn can pull it into a platform or, just use the tools in general and get somewhat of a more formatted response. I'm hoping that helps answer the question there.
Okay, thank you, Alex. Also, there was other question Will this functionality be available in Gamayun? So yeah, for those who doesn't know, Gamayun is our new product. It's a SaaS workplace for open source data mining with advanced visualization and like automatic link analysis. What is the difference between this and the social links plus Maltego is that it's a bit better and seamless user experience. It's like just easier to get going. Also, there are new powerful visualization methods, and which I love like mostly is reporting, a new way of reporting. So you can generate report from your investigation. This way you won't be able to write everything like copy and paste, screenshot, will make a report for you. And so, yeah, the functionality will be added as soon like as we launch our first version of this. Is there any like other questions? Can I get the Whois history database download? I see. Okay, from Thomas Derenthal. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry if I'm pronouncing this wrong. So Alex, I think this question might be for you too. Can
Sure.
I get the Whois history database download? I see only the Whois database on the WhoisXML website.
Yes. You certainly can. We do license the entire Whois history database in some limited use cases. It is a large investment and it's a lot of data. But if that doesn't scare you away, Thomas, please let us know. My sales team is more than happy to walk you through what the licensing looks like, all of that good stuff. Thomas likes lots of data. Good. I think we have some shared interests, Thomas.
Yeah.
A question from Nirmal. I understood what is talked about, but it is written somewhere in webinar that Whois can be used in market research as well. How this is possible? What do you mean as market research?
I think I know what he's after there,
Yeah.
or she, Nimal there. So we actually also have a lot of, believe it or not, hedge funds, investment firms, people who do, the Bloombergs of the world, things like that, right? Because at the same way that, today we're looking at who is accountable for something, people doing market research, or maybe they're looking at things like, hey, can I see day to day how many domains signed up for GoDaddy? They're a publicly traded entity. Maybe I can get ahead of the market in the stock market. Or maybe there's some other sort of kind of research. We supported a study not long ago looking at sort of the global trends in entrepreneurship and really looking at the rise of domain name registrations, as well as what types of those organizations, right? So it's really interesting how many use cases are brought to us just by looking at Whois data, right? Some people are looking at it from like an investment point of view. Other people are more looking at it from a point of view as like something bad happened. Now what? Who was that?
Yeah, and if I may add, the kind of market research is also something that can later lead also to investigative activities, because if you want to drill down things, maybe you need something like payment provider first, or do they have a shop, yes or no? So I know that data provider is doing something like that, but that is also interesting more and more in the future, because we have so many records and so many domains. And then say, give me only the ones in Germany, only the ones that have a shop, and then only the ones that have PayPal. And then we can see if they sell this certain product. Yeah. So market research is definitely interesting. And I think it's more live than I'm the historic guy. Yeah. I'm digging in the old things, sometimes at least, but that is more the new things.
Right. So, I mean, there's even some people in obviously digital forensics and hunting and things in those efforts, but also people in corporate forensics, right? People trying to investigate, hey, was there something hidden in this kind of a legal merger acquisition or something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the other question then. Thank you very much. That's a question for both, I would say, Jörn and Alex. How does WhoisXML compare to domain tools? I know, Jörn, that you love WhoisXML, so you would provide the answer to that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I use both tools, so I probably have a good view on that. So I actually think both companies are great. I cannot phrase it the other way, and I know that Alex said the same thing, and I know both, but it's a different approach, different customer approach also. So for me personally, domain tools is great, but it is too expensive for me. I'm not saying they are the price is not okay, because what they deliver is excellent, but I don't need that so often. So that's why I said in the beginning, I like this credit approach. And Iris at the end is a complete tool set that they provide for pivoting data. And I think, and here I give over to Alex, there's something similar in your platform, because I checked it out. There are some threat intelligence tools as well, huh?
Sure, yeah. And there's a lot of overlap between what we do, what Domain Tools does. I want to take the opportunity to give a shout out to Tim Chen, who was somewhat of a hero of ours, CEO, creator of Domain Tools, right? But as Jörn said, it's a largely different application. Our customers often come to us. Sometimes they're using both organizations. Other times, they need to bake in data in a more reliable format where they can automate a lot of their decision making rather than sitting inside of, let's say, a platform with a beautiful GUI tool, something like that, right? Aside from that, obviously, there's differences in costs, differences in how we license data, differences in specifically the data provided. I definitely recommend if tools we had were interesting, it's good to have a kind of holistic view of the whole market. You'll see a lot of similar tools from domain tools as well.
Okay, let's move on then. Questions about data policy, two are coming up. The one is all Whois data now redacted due to GDPR? And the other one is, how do you compile with EU data policy when based in Germany and collecting data with Maltego? Jörn?
Well, I think Alex can do the GDPR thing, because it's his data, yeah.
Right. So there's one thing that I think is often forgotten when people are talking about GDPR and investigations. If you look at the original RFTC and still current RFTC protocol for Whois information, any information you submit at the time of domain registration is deemed to be public information, unless you decide by telling the registrar, GoDaddy, something like that, that you want to opt for Whois privacy. At that point, the only way to really uncover who registered that website is probably with like a warrant in hand, right? That's tough to do. Oftentimes people will go to, let's say, as opposed to GoDaddy, they'll go to like the hosting company or something like that to try to get a website taken down, right? Overall, GDPR, we've probably seen about 30 to 40% of all records that we can see. We're talking about 330 million active websites. Probably about 30% is redacted, and only some of that is actually in the GDPR regions. The GDPR regions really only make up about 17% of the internet as we can see it. But even years before GDPR was really a requirement, people were hiding their Whois registration information way back when, right? But there is low-hanging fruit for researchers. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit for, as Jörn has shown us. Some people like to get very lazy. They use the same handles. They use similar footprints, and we've seen many cases where people hide a lot of their tracks, but they just forgot about that one blog they were running 6 years ago, and then that's kind of their downfall, right? But currently, no, not all Whois data is redacted due to GDPR. Essentially, if we can show you it, it's legal.
Yeah, and to answer the second question, well, I'm based in Germany and I collect data. I mean, to be precise, I use Maltego as a tool, which per se is just the client. And the Maltego GmbH says, okay, we are not responsible for that, which is true, except for their own transforms that they have. So of course you have to look into the cases, and I mean, it's not a license for collecting data like you want and whatever you can do. But I'm working with we have an external data protection officer, and our tools are under control of these things, and we delete things that when we don't need them. And so I don't have any problem in doing that. Okay,
wow, there is like one big question. But first, Timo asked, okay, but when creating a case, you collect personalized data. How can this be legal in Germany?
Well, if the case, if I have a legal case, if I'm doing that, I mean, today this was demo data. I mean, this is in every newspaper, what I showed you. Yeah, so it's really not a problem. But let's assume this is a case. Then I have a client, and in Germany, the client has to tell me that he has a real interest in that case, and not because he wants to know who this lady from the neighborhood is, yeah, or something. I mean, a real case, a fraud case, whatever. He has to prove it to me, and from that moment on, I have certain rights to do that, and then I can collect this data. Yeah, there's no problem in that.
Okay, Roman Höfner, thank you very much for the question. It's a question about the subscription model. So Alex, would you please read it out loud and just answer that?
Sure. And thanks, Roman, for the question. So he's asking, if I use the prepaid model as prescribed here, does every transform we run use a credit, or is it just the reverse Whois? Yes, Roman, we are a very greedy API provider in the sense that we will give you free credits you can run. All you got to do is just hop on our website. You could do it right now. 2 minutes after you verify your email, you'll have thousands of free credits. I anticipate a lot of people listening to us right now can probably use these kind of pivots and transformers for free. Some of the transformers you can use 100 times a month for free, and we'll keep giving you free credits. Other ones get up to, I think, a 500, maybe even. And there's certain kind of consumption rates in those credits. But really, what Sonia and the Social Links team have built here is a beautiful ingestion model. So that way you guys can do everything inside of that kind of platform, right? Our subscriptions are pretty simple. Really, all you need to do, you don't even need to talk to a sales rep or anything like that. You can just hop right on. You can make a free account. All of our pricing for the APIs, pretty much every API I can think of is public. And you can see that pricing all the way up to, I think, a couple million queries. Not to say that that's all we can support. We do have some people running hundreds of millions of queries a month in those kind of enterprise-y situations. Generally, each time you use one of the transformers, there's some sort of credit consumption. If any of that is ambiguous at all, please, Roman, anyone else that's confused, get in touch with me or my sales team. We'll be happy to demystify it.
Okay, Didi is asking, does WhoisXML use AWS or a similar cloud backend, or is it all homegrown? Alex?
We're probably the smallest big data company you'll ever run into. I do believe we're an AWS shop in some of the backend areas. In other areas, I think some like WebNX, Cloudflare, that sort of thing. But realistically, the methodology, the way we're parsing, all of those pieces are all homegrown. Whereas pretty much all the data that we're providing for you guys is public, but it was originally very ugly.
Okay, Thomas, yeah, this question has been asked, so I'll be just really quick. You need to get a People API key in order to use a People API. That's it. Hey, we've run out of questions, so we'll give you about like 1 minute more to maybe ask anything else. But during this time, I would just love to to mention that that's really great. I remember Jörn and Bruno also asking us to build an integration with Whois data, and it is just a small note that yeah, we've done what we were asked for. So that's yeah, that's great. And I know that from the Whois XML API team, there were a lot of questions of like visualization. So yeah, that's just to know that we've done it after you asked it. So yeah, feel free to ask like for the features, and we'll be really happy to provide you with them. And also what I would like to say is the context, like last part. So here are our contact details. I'm ready for your ideas, like product ideas, feature requests or whatever. And we also have our support team to help you understand how everything works. And so yeah, here's like our website, the email you can write to in order to ask all the questions about the purchase of our product, and all our great social media. Probably some of you learned about the webinar from the social media. Also, here are WhoisXML API contacts, the sales team as well, and the support team. Yeah, here are our contacts, mine, Jörn's, and Alex's. We are really happy to answer any other questions you have personally. Yeah, so just enjoy the rest of your day, and I think that's all for today.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. It was lovely.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Right.
Alex. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Sonia. Thanks, Jörn. Thanks the 44 of you that are still around.
Yeah,
happy
fantastic.
hunting. Have a good one.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.